you guys make some noise for Claudia. Come on, guys. Welcome, Claudia, to the stage.
I like to think of the world as one big machine. Machines have many parts, which won't work properly unless the others are in perfect function. They all belong and they all have a purpose. I think that in a way, the world is one big machine because each of us were designed and created with a purpose. My time overseas as a youth ambassador was actually my second time in East Timor, my first being in 2013. East Timor is only an hour's flight from Darwin, Australia, yet the resemblance is unseen. Before leaving in February, I thought that having been to East Timor before would make me desensitised to what I was about to see. I thought that it wouldn't upset me or make me cry, but I was wrong. I don't think that anything can prepare you for the moment that you see humans suffering right in front of you. The look on a mother's face as she is unable to provide for her family. The smell of rotting toilets from a lack of sanitation. The touch of a woman's hands as her fingers grip cold and broken. The cry of a child who is hungry despite there being nothing to feed them. This is a reality that I saw far too often, and a reality that somehow, without choice, is Nicolina's everyday life. The loose-fitted clothing that covers her once bare skin is one of two pieces she owns, the other grasping small glimpses of sunlight on the washing line outside. Nicolina, name meaning tenderness, easily crushed or bruised, fragile. Nicolina warmly invited us into her home, a small dark hut, carefully built with her own two hands and tied together with bamboo and straw. Her teeth stained a permanent red from the betel nut that she chews on. Betel nut, like many things she's learnt in life, is deceiving, as betel nut is a natural drug that stops the pain from hunger. It helps Nicolina to forget how hungry she really is. Can you imagine picking betel nut off a tree and chewing on it to stop the pain from hunger because you don't earn enough money to buy food? I want to share the words of this woman who touched my heart. I'll never forget the distant look in her eye as she looked like she was somewhere else. Maybe the worries had completely taken over, or she was tired from a lack of nutrition. She said, I want to be able to provide enough food for my family, but I can't. So I stay up all night long, just worrying. Have you ever felt what it's like when you've been so worried that you can't fall asleep? Anyone? Yeah, I was feeling that last night. But I remember this one time in year 12 when all of my assignments were due at once and I tried to fall asleep and I couldn't. So I just laid in bed for hours and hours thinking about it over and over again. Maybe you felt something similar. Have you ever been so worried that you can't get those thoughts out of your mind? Well, this is what it's like for Nicolina, except each day she wakes up feeling like her worries, that little voice inside of her head, will never be silenced. And soon I realised why. Nicolina's mother, Elisa, led me to the rows and rows of crops in the front of their hut. I couldn't understand how they were going hungry when they had so much food in their garden. You see, what you grow in East Timor is determined by the rainfall during the wet season. Elisa pointed to the crops on her left and said, "The wet season wasn't wet enough. Our crops have failed. We have enough food for the next 2 or 3 days, but after that, there's nothing." I can't help but think of how unfair that is. Why is it that some people like me have more than enough food to eat, whilst others like Nicolina and Elisa are going hungry? How does 1 hour away from Australia equal such enormous inequality? It was in that moment when I really realised what hunger was. Hunger isn't just a statistic. Hunger isn't something that I feel between breakfast and lunch. Hunger lives inside of people, and hunger is real. But you might be asking, why am I sharing these stories with you? To make you upset or scared? No, I share them because it doesn't have to be this way. Just because poverty exists doesn't mean that it can't be overcome. Nicolina's mother, Elisa, whose hand gripped tightly to mine, also gripped on tightly to something else: hope. Despite the depths of their current situation, grandmother Elisa said to me, "Through all the hunger, loss and suffering, I am thankful for the life that I have. I have hope for the future because I know that things will get better." Elisa still had faith that her family's life was going to improve. I remember sitting in front of her hut thinking that if this incredible woman has hope for the day that they no longer go hungry, then why don't we? Hunger and malnutrition are the world's #1 health risk. Unlike some diseases that unfortunately don't have a cure, there is a solution to poverty. We have the ability to change that, and I know that we can because I've seen it in action. I visited World Vision projects in East Timor that were taking a stand against hunger. Projects that were supporting families and helping to sell their produce for a fairer price. I saw members of the community that were taking a stand against malnutrition, like the Maternal Child Health Clinic, which has decreased the rate of infant deaths in the past 3 years by 40%. I saw members of the community take a stand for equality, where women were being empowered. I watched as clean water taps were being built, children were being educated, and seeds were getting planted. Because I've seen how our 40-hour famine donations have made a difference in East Timor, I know that the money that you guys raise this year will go to people like Nicolina and Elisa, providing them with not only the tools to succeed and stand on their own 2 feet, but will provide them with an abundance of hope. But let's face it, who here has ever felt like one person can't make a difference? Like, how does one person end global hunger? I know that I felt that way before, but when I travelled to East Timor with World Vision, I realised the power of one. That one person, just like you, can and does make a difference. And when we act instead of think, and do instead of dream, I believe that we can shorten this string of equality for a fairer and more just world. A world where hunger doesn't exist. And that world starts with you. During my time in Timor, I realised that each of us matter and are important in ending hunger. I believe that this is our part and this is our purpose. If we work together as one big machine, we can create change on such a large scale to help these communities overcome the struggles they're facing so they don't have to face it alone. I know that when we stand together, we can fight hunger and we can win. Thank you.
Some